Hello, everybody. This is your host, Mia. Thank you for tuning in and listening to another episode of the one and only Soul Wave Podcast. Enjoy. I know a glass of wine hates to see me coming. Oh, guys, let me paint the scene for you right now. It's Friday, August 9th, and I am down the Jersey Shore by myself. God bless. God bless. I wanted to come and run away. Well, I threw it out to my friends, but everyone was busy. But I was very happy that they were busy, actually, because then I get to spend. Hold on. No, that's not what I wanted to say. I get the opportunity to spend some alone time with myself and record, because it's been an interesting journey this week. So I got my glass of wine and we're going to get into it. I hope you guys are getting comfy, because this is going to be a heavily That's confirmation for anyone who needed that, the grandfather clock in the background. But as I was saying, this is going to be a heavily loaded episode, so you're going to want to be really present for it. I love when you guys hit me up and you're like, oh, I was listening on my way to work or at the gym or while I was cleaning, and that's always awesome, but you might want to just sit and relax this podcast. I know it's probably not practical for most of you guys, but if you can, because there's going to be a lot. Because this last week was a lot. I started a new structure for myself. I always work best when I have some type of structure for my life. And I always love having a sense of direction, somewhere I can anchor my focus into. And normally, or not normally actually, because none of this is fucking normal. Well, to the outside world, it's not normal. To me, this is my everyday life, but I have like a list of topics that I want to discuss and share my knowledge and wisdom about on this podcast. But every week, I try to really make it a practice to sit in stillness with Source or with God. And that's where I get my inspiration for the episodes, instead of just pulling from one of the many topics I have, which usually kind of like always overlaps though. Some of the topics that I want to talk about wind up to be what Source wants me to talk about, or what inspiration I get from Source is kind of aligned with that. Not always, but if you haven't caught on yet, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Mia, and for the majority of these podcast episodes, I kind of just talk about my life. And I share my unique perspective and how I work through and how I overcome certain life challenges or experiences or traumas that I have, and how I just become better because of it, with a spiritual lens, and how I use spirituality as my crutch, it's my pillar. Or I just talk about what I've been going through. And that's going to be one of these episodes. Because of this new structure I've implemented, I have now allocated much more time to spend with Source. And that was one of the things I wanted to start prioritizing, is not only just meditation and trying to be better at it, because it is a practice and it's extremely fucking difficult. But that's why you practice it. You get better over time. But I always find when I spend time in my studio downstairs with my ancestors and my guides at my altar, or if I do a little card spread for myself, when I'm just fully present and trying to connect, is when I get hit the most with energy from them. And also it being Lionsgate. We're still in the portal energy. We'll probably feel this energy for a couple more days, even after this is posted at midnight on Saturday, Sunday morning. Lionsgate is August 8th. It's 8/8, and it's happens during Leo season, but it's when the sun in Leo and the star Sirius and another astrological planetary object, I believe, line up. But what the portal, quote unquote, offers us is a time. How do I word this? It becomes much easier to connect with source and higher energies, and the veil between worlds becomes really thin. And boy, did I feel it. Plus, it's Mercury retrograde, and this Mercury retrograde is going to be quite interesting. I mean, all of them are really interesting, but this one, in my own personal life, has been, it's been a blast, if I'm being honest. Let me get a little sip of wine. It's also been raining for the last 3 days, and it's in my belief that rain, which is water, which is emotion, rain is symbolic of the heavens and spirit dropping information, downloads, messages, intuition into us. So for me, it's no coincidence that's raining by Lionsgate, you know? I was also, when I was editing my last podcast episode, I was like, damn, I take a long time to get out what I want to say, as you may have caught on. It's because I'm grabbing the words from the heavens, and I have to put it all together to make sense before I speak it. So it takes me some time to just collect my thoughts. But I'm actually really okay with that. Normally, I would judge myself for that because I'm like looking at myself from other people's perspectives, like, oh my God, just get it out already. But if you met me when I was younger, or even in person now, I still talk really fast. Really fast. It's like my words are trying to keep up with my mind. They're just fucking shooting out. I remember when I was in 8th grade, we're getting ready for like ring ceremony or graduation ceremony, one of those. And I was chosen to say a few words. And my critique from all the teachers was constantly, we practiced this for like 2 weeks every single day during my lunch period. A shame. They were like, Mia, you gotta slow down. You gotta slow down. And now I look back thinking of it, I'm like, I'm working through public speaking fears and always being dimmed. Doing that wasn't easy. I was trying to get out of the spotlight as quick as possible. And it's crazy how we evolve, because here I am with the podcast, man. And I just be putting myself out there. Sometimes it doesn't feel real, you know? Like, damn, I have a podcast. But then there's like a huge other part of me, another aspect of myself where it's like, of course you have a podcast, Mia. Like, this is what you're made for. This is where you're supposed to be. And that's something this Mercury retrograde will be offering all of us, is there's going to be certain days, I think August 23rd and September 2nd, from then to there, that time period is going to be a huge realization point for a lot of us because of what's going on in the sky. And we had a little sneak peek, a little preview of this energy actually July 18th and 19th. And guys, July 19th was when I had that huge spiritual awakening. Such a profound moment in time. And you know, when you first awaken to the spiritual journey, it could look like you're getting into tarot cards. I know that was a huge awakening for a lot of people, especially because of like social media. Everyone started to see tarot readings, so they started to like believe and started to dip their toe in and kind of dabble with it. And that's like a awakening in itself, I know that was one of my first awakenings. Is after I tore my ACL the third time, I got put on to tarot readings, and next thing I know, I'm ordering my first tarot deck, and then we just fucking snowballed, and here we are. But after that first awakening, you will go through many more awakenings. Whether that looks like coming into knowledge you didn't really have before, or coming into wisdom, looking at your past experiences, or you're just deepening. The layers of the onion were pulled back, and something you conceptualized for such a long time and it hit one way is now hitting way harder. And you're looking at it much deeper because you're now having a physical connection to it. But when I say physical, I really mean an emotional connection to it. It's deepening your emotions. You're feeling more, which is why it feels like a deepening and why it's hitting a lot harder, because you're having these feelings come out of nowhere that you never felt before. And you're like, oh my God, never in my life have I felt like this. And you're like, oh my God, wait a second. Wow, I could feel this way in life. And it just keeps happening over and over again, which is pretty cool. But sometimes, you don't get there until you go through some fucking shit. And I'll be the first to acknowledge that this life is hard as hell, but the light at the end of the tunnel, or when you burst into your own light before you even reach the end of the tunnel, is amazing. Oh my God, it makes life worth living. Truly does. I'll toast to that. Cheers, clink. I know a glass of wine hate to see me coming. I just poured it. I am nowhere lit yet, but what a joy in life. All about the pleasures. So anyway, let's get back to this Mercury retrograde. So pay attention to August 23rd and September 2nd. Because during that time, it is going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. I want to say favorable, but that's not it. More opportune, an easier time with, all of the above, an easier time with having this realization of your own life and how certain events, things, people, places, whatever you experienced has led you to where you are. But now, because of that, if you even feel so inclined to do so, you can offer this to the world, because you being uniquely who you are has your own individual perspective on life. And although we're all different and we all have these individual unique perspectives, sometimes it will help others to come into their own. I always fucking say, if it wasn't for other people sharing their stories, I would not be where I am today. If it wasn't for other people being vulnerable and talking about their own lives, wow, I just had massive deja vu. If it wasn't for those people gifting the world, gifting others their own wisdom from the wounds they licked, I wouldn't be who I am today. And that's why I think community and unity and vulnerability are so important. There is enough weird power dynamics. There's enough people who have chips on their shoulders from doing it all themselves that we have come so far from what is I almost wanted to say true, but I don't want to force my beliefs on anybody. So in my belief though, I feel like we have come so far from what is true. But you don't have to adapt that doesn't feel right. But for me, in my case, truth is oneness. Truth is looking at each other and realizing we're all the same and that we don't need to put ourselves above or even below one another, and that we can extend a hand or a shoulder. And I really love that. I'm big on community. I was thinking about the times in life because I was thinking about, am I codependent in my relationships? And I'm gonna get into that in a little bit. But in my romantic relationships and my situationships and my almost maybes, because I have not found the person yet that I feel like is meant for me, or the universe just keeps throwing lessons in my face and it's like, you haven't figured this out yet, which is fair. I'll admit it. So easy to choose the bad habits, man. I'm so used to it. But I'm definitely not codependent in the way of I feel like I need this person. This person needs to be in my life. God, how many times is that going to go off? This is a sip break. We're going to use this to drink some wine. Happy New Year. Anyway, I'm not codependent anymore in the way where I'm like, oh my God, I need this person. This person's supposed to be in my life. I cannot function without them. Because I have gone through, up until this point in my life, some of the hardest moments alone. And I always say, especially to my clients or my friends or the people around me, strangers I meet, whoever, I would do that 10 times over if I knew that I was going to come out with the belief that I can do anything. The belief in myself, the belief in God and my spirit team and source and the universe. Again, I use all those words interchangeably. To me, they all mean the same thing. But that's where I pull my confidence from, is that I've already went through such a difficult time in my life alone that I don't need anybody. And I don't mean to come off from a standpoint of like, I don't need anybody, like mad jaded or anything. Like, that's not it at all. I think as a woman, it is super important to come into your own, to acknowledge your own strength, to acknowledge your own power, to look back and you like look at what you've went through. And I think that's where real confidence comes from. I used to think it came from your looks or like your achievements, but that's not it at all. It's having belief and feeling confident in your abilities to get you out of wherever you are that you don't currently want to be in, or to believe that there are higher powers at play that are looking out for you and protecting you and that put you here for a reason, you know? But after coming back to relationships that I lost, friendships that I lost specifically, and realizing how much love I had for these people, one, because of who they are and just what they offer the world and offer me and the sides I get to see of them. Oh, incredible. I can cry just talking about it. But two, to be so understood and so accepted makes me step a little bit more into my feminine energy of realizing that I am powerful and I'm strong and I can move through whatever life hands me myself, but I don't have to. And it also helps my ability to trust, is that I can now trust these individuals because I trust myself. And that I can go and take my armor off around them and collapse into the ground and be held. And I don't have to do it all by myself. And I love that. And that's why I'm so big on community, because you can do it all alone, but there's no better feeling than knowing you're supported and you're loved and you're accepted, I think, in my belief, in my opinion. So let's get back to Mercury retrograde. It went retrograde on the 4th, which was also the new moon, depending on where you were. It might have been the 5th, but the 4th, August 4th. It went into its pre-shadow phase in the middle of July. So look back to the middle of July until August 4th and see what energies were at play then. And I look back to that specific moment where I had that huge spiritual awakening, and I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. So now I feel those energies ramping up. So now that Mercury is in retrograde, these energies are going to be amplifying a little more. And retrogrades happen no matter what planet it's in. The purpose of retrograde is to refine, is to grow, to reassess, to reevaluate. Y'all know I love those two words, reassess and reevaluate. The universe is offering us opportunities to grow because that's what we're here for. We can't always stay the same, nor should we want to. And if you're feeling a lot of resistance right now, if you're having a difficult time in life, I would say let go. What are you holding on to so deeply? What are you so attached to that's creating all this resistance? Because maybe that's the thing you have to let go. And I know it's such a shitty truth. It is, but it's real. These things are what is holding us back. There's going to be a lot of change of plans and disruptions that happen during this Mercury retrograde, and I would say just try and go with the flow. There's a reason why the plans are being destructive right now. It's because you need to be able to adapt and be flexible, and those are incredible skills to have as a human being and are so important in life. The ability to be flexible and adapt and to grow. Like I had a coach. This guy coached me since I was like 7, all the way up into college. And he said, you are more yourself when you're faced with adversity. So who are you when you're faced with adversity? And back in the day, I mean, like, I didn't know my fucking ass from my elbow. So I wasn't thinking into it at the time. And it's like, it's such a shame because as you get older, you realize how much of your life you could have saved, how much time you could have saved being like more fulfilled or more joy or just less rigid. And you don't learn that until you really have your own experience with it, and that doesn't really come until with age. And then we spend so much time trying to like preach this to the youth because we wish somebody did that to us. And like the truth is, we had people do that to us. I had people tell me day in and day out, but it wasn't until we had our own experience with it, our own true experience where we could understand what they meant by that, which in essence is like a little spiritual awakening. So don't get scared by this Mercury retrograde. Look at it as a time for growth. What could you be better at? We all got places we can continue to be better at. And even if you feel like you're good enough, why don't you want to be more? Don't stop there. Don't give up on yourself so easily. Don't sell yourself short. You know, a lot of the time with Mercury retrogrades, we have exes, ex relationships, ex friendships, ex bosses, ex jobs, ex environments we come back to because there are nuggets of wisdom there waiting for us to grab. You know, Mercury goes retrograde about 3 to 4 times a year. So during the times it's not, you know, we're already also learning and growing and evolving and adapting new ways of being. So now it's like giving us the opportunity to be who we really think we are. Or it's giving us the opportunity for more growth so we can look at these situations, these people, these environments differently. That's why exes come back, because Mercury is a planet of communication. The way we think and talk to ourselves in our mind, the way we think and message people in life and how we communicate with them. Oh man, so this is where I'm like, this is about to be a heavily loaded episode. And I almost didn't want to talk about it because of the energies Mercury retrograde is offering us this season. It's like, if you are waiting to do something big or profound, wait till after September 11th, because that's when Mercury and its retrograde and our shadow period is going to be over, you don't want to do it now, because you could be acting recklessly almost. And so me and my fear, I'm like, do I want to talk about this? But I'm going to talk about it. Because fuck it, we ball, baby. All right, I need to collect my thoughts. Let me get my notes up. But I want to share this with you guys on the podcast because I want to show you the magic that we are capable of if we tune into it, and what we can gain from these Mercury retrogrades, especially when we're dealing with ex-romantic relationships. It's in my highest belief that relationships of all kinds are catalysts for our healing journey, but romantic relationships especially are extreme catalysts. And there is so much wisdom available to us in these connections and these dynamics that we can pull from and just utilize for ourselves. I think especially if the purpose of the connection wasn't for us to be together because it wasn't working out. Clearly, some connections just don't. But there's so much that I have gained from going back and looking at these relationships just with myself alone, not even reaching out, because I believe it was never even about the other person. It was all about myself. And I'm going to share that with you guys in this episode, but I think I want to take you back to the beginning to give you guys some context of this relationship dynamic that was coming up in my energy field because of Mercury retrograde. And when I say energy field, I mean the thought of this person, the memories. I was having dreams, I was having songs, I would relate to them, come up. They would appear in my social media. There was no physical contact or connection whatsoever. And honestly, I intend to keep it that way. I know in my heart and my head that is the best. But that doesn't mean I can't think about it or go back and look at it. And that's what I did. And you're going to hear in a few seconds me talk about it also. Oh, God. All right, let's get into it. So, once upon a time, I met this boy. And from the first glance, I felt something inside of myself that I'd never felt before. Oh my God. Man, I feel like every time I make a podcast episode, I just push the limits to how vulnerable I could be, bro. Oh my God. I am freaking out internally right now. Well, also externally, as you can hear, but. Okay. All right. I gotta get this out. Whew. We're good. I need to pour some more wine. Y'all heard that? ASMR. Okay, I just took a little break because I wanted to listen to what I had so far and collect my thoughts so I would just speak this as clear as I can. And a bitch got hungry, so I made some steak. It was really good. And now I'm back. And yeah, let's just fucking dive into it. I'm already doing this, so let's just jump off the cliff, baby. So yeah, once upon a time I met this boy who I never felt this way towards anyone before. And this is right at the beginning of my spiritual journey. I had just gotten my first deck of tarot cards, been doing them, and here we go. Just get catapulted onto this. this path. And from the first moment I met this guy, I knew I loved him. Everything he exuded, it was just intoxicating. And my younger self, she was so naive. She didn't know nothing. And at times I miss that, because ignorance really is bliss. But I know it sounds unhealthy to fall in love with someone you just met and barely know. Believe me, I've tried to deny it, especially nowadays, feeling that I know better, but I don't know. I don't think love is as logical as we would like it to be. The book Journey of the Souls, the author Michael Newton, he said, when you look into a certain person's eyes on the ground, even people you have just met, and see a light you have known before, well, that tells you something about them. As a human, you don't know why, but your soul remembers. Yeah, so, we first get launched onto this spiritual journey. One of your first entryways, most people know, is that like you have karmic partners and soulmates and then twin flames. And here we go again. Let me pause this. Hold on. So as soon as I learned about the twin flame connection, and back then all I really knew is that it was just a so intense connection, and you're so connected, and you're just like on the energetic frequency, and I would think of this person and he would hit me up and all that shit. I had no idea what I was signing myself up for, and this is one of the reasons I have held myself back from talking about this for so long, because I think I haven't forgiven myself yet for being so naive and not knowing what the twin flame journey was, and that if I did know, I wouldn't just slap that title on this individual. And I think a lot of people, when they hear twin flames, the hair on the back of their neck stands up, Everyone takes that identity and runs with it. But the truth is, and the way this world works, whether you know completely what a twin flame journey really is or not, like I didn't at the time, and you think to yourself in your head that this person is my twin flame, your thoughts then create your reality. And the universe only says yes, it doesn't say no. So if you're thinking in your head, this person's my twin flame, they're going to say yes. And now the universe is going to conspire for all that to happen. So yeah, you may feel this intense love for this individual, but the roller coaster ride that you go on with them is traumatic and toxic. And it is the hardest mountain you'll ever have to climb. You guys have heard me say day in and day out on this podcast that relationships are mirrors. Whether it's a romantic relationship, a friendship, platonic, coworkers, bosses, siblings, your parents, your friends, like they're all mirrors to you. Some mirror just the good back to you, some mirror the ugly, some mirror the good, bad, and everything in between. But a twin flame, they are your exact mirror. And I'm about to say something that a lot of you guys aren't going to like, but I'm going to say it because this is my truth and what I believe. I have multiple twin flames. I have felt an intensity towards a man 3 times where I slapped that label on it. And all 3 times I still did not know what a twin flame journey was. But they are your mirrors. They are the most intense mirrors. That's why you feel so much love towards them, because you are ultimately the closest connection back to source, back to one, back to yourself you have ever encountered. How could you not love that? How can you not fall so deeply for that. It makes me think of that one Lucifer episode where his brother Amenadiel helps out with a case, and the case so happens to be at like a monastery with like nuns or something like that, and the nuns are like infatuated with him. And he goes, I think I know why they're so infatuated with me, because Amenadiel's an angel. And it's because my faith in God is reflected back at them. And I'm like, bro, that's it. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's there. The nuns' faith in God reflected back at them. I love Lucifer. I think that show is a great example of the twin flame journey. How they both meet, but ultimately through their meeting and their connection, they find their life's purpose and their destiny, which you have to watch till the end to get that entire full thought of it. But there's a lot that people don't understand about the twin flame journey, and one of them is what I believe to be true is that a twin flame is actually a soul that was so deeply wounded it had to split into two to make healing easier. And because your thoughts create your reality, if you think you have more than one, then yeah, you're going to get mirrored all your insecurities, all your flaws, all your wounds continuously, as well as all the good and all the amazing things about yourself. But most importantly, why these connections with twin flames are so intense is because the pain and the triggers you feel from them mirroring back your insecurities, everything you never felt good enough for, creates such tension inside of yourself where we act out and we become toxic. Or we are toxic. We don't become, we just are, because we don't know better usually. Most of the times we don't know better. But my real fucking beef with the twin flame journey, and this is 100% my ego and my bias and almost my resentment speaking. I will take 100% accountability for that, but I'm just going to say it. My real beef with the twin flame journey is that everyone thinks you're supposed to be together, that you're meant to be together. And that's going to hurt a lot of you guys to hear, but the truth is that's not it. The twin flame journey is all about yourself. It has nothing to do with another person. Can't you hear the tone of my voice? And I think a lot of us, 99.9% of us, because I see it, once you have an understanding of how the world works, you start to see patterns. And then you realize, and I tell people this all the time, and they don't want to believe it, but I'm like, just accept the fact. Every single one of us are more alike than we want to admit. And every single one of us, we have attachment issues in one way or another. And because of our attachment issues or our codependency, in our mind, we're like, I need to be with this person. Because we can't think outside of the box of like, maybe I deserve more than what I'm getting. I've never felt this way towards someone else. That means I'm never going to feel this way again. That is complete, utter bullshit. And it's because you're in your mind, you're telling yourself that that's why you're not finding it. You have to let go of the attachment you have for that individual and move on with your life, because that shit will cloud your judgment. I believe that 110%. I've seen so many people be held back from everything good out there because they're waiting for another person to get their shit together. Because I just have to be with them. We're meant to be. That's the other half of my soul. Man, if I had 3 twin flames, you can have 4. Like, come on now. Not that I know if you would want 4. How about a soulmate instead? Something that's not going to be so difficult. I know I sound so aggressive, but I'll admit that's because the pain, I haven't completely transcended from this connection or these connections. It's still there. I still feel jaded by it sometimes. That's not to say I completely ignore it or I'm in denial or run away. I look at this shit. I do. And there are times though when I think about this person, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I got to meet you. And as difficult these connections are, and as much as I'm like, don't get involved, or there's too many people attached and all these codependent relationships, and there's too much of an obsession of trying to find our other half or someone to complete us, when the world is made up of so much more than that. It is a beautiful journey because of what I'm going to share eventually later in this podcast episode. I have learned so much about myself because I was looking in this mirror. And I think that's another reason why I still have so much love for them, because I believe somewhere before we reincarnated, we signed a contract with each other. And we decided that we were going to help one another learn a certain lesson. Even if that meant we would never cross paths physically again, but that one time or those couple times. And now I just have to love you from afar. You know, love is not claimed. It's allowed and given. I think we can allow ourselves for the love to be there. It happened, accept it for all the good, and transmute the pain into an emotional motivator to be more creative and work better on yourself. I used to say he was the reason I have this podcast, because all the pain I felt made me go searching for relief in spiritual things and understandings. And that's why I know a lot about this stuff, but I don't believe that anymore, nor do I give my power away like that. Where I am today was and is a part of my destiny. That relationship was just multiple large stepping stones to help me get here. My soul always knew these things. It's just the veil of forgetting we sign up for while reincarnating makes us not remember, but we always come back to awareness, to our inner being, where love exists freely without attachment and the need to be connected physically. You know, Eckhart Tolle said in one of his books, the ego tends to equate having with being. I have, therefore I am, and the more I have, the more I am. The ego lives through compassion. How you are seen by others turns into how you see yourself. What is commonly called falling in love is in most cases an intensification of the ego wanting and needing. You become addicted to another person, or rather to your image of that person. It has nothing to do with true love, which contains no wanting whatsoever. The Spanish language is the most honest in regard to conventional notions of love. Te quiero means I want you as well as I love you. The other expression for I love you is te amo, which does not have this ambiguity and is rarely used, perhaps because love is just as rare. The more identified people are with their respective roles, the more inauthentic the relationship becomes. The roles of partner, even twin flame, if not transmuted, we cannot really honor these things if we use them as a means to self-enhancement. If we try to find ourselves through them, ego identification with things creates attachment to things, obsession with things. Whatever the ego seeks and gets attached to are substitutes for the being that it cannot feel. You can value and care for these things, but whenever you get attached to them, you will know it's the ego. And you are never really attached to a thing but a thought that has I, me, or mine in it. Whenever you completely accept a loss, you go beyond the ego and who you are. So, let me get off my soapbox. I threw this title on this kid, and his energy has been coming into my field heavily. In the beginning of the week, right on the new moon, right as Mercury went retrograde, I had back-to-back dreams with him in it. And it brought up so many emotions. So many. One of them, the main one, being like, wow, am I not over this yet? Because I still feel this way towards him. And I've been going back and forth all week, trying to figure out what is my truth. Even with, because I have to assume that this guy probably thinks I'm delusional and doesn't even feel this way towards me anymore. because so much time has passed. And because we're not talking, we're not connected, I don't see this person. And if I do, we pretend like the other person does not exist. Isn't that crazy? On the rare occasions I do run into this individual, it's like seeing a ghost and nothing is spoken, nothing is said. Because after the last time we walked away from each other, I had in my mind, and again, this is an assumption, but I'm sure he had it in his mind too, like, this is it. This clearly isn't good for either of us. So why even try again? And I don't even know if I want to. I think honestly that's not in our best interest, and like, I just want this kid to be happy. I want him to succeed in life. And I'm okay. I'm finally at the place where I'm okay if that's not with me. But I'm pretty sure he's still caught up in the pain that we've equally caused each other in this connection because of the energy. Like, you can just feel it. And I say I'm delusional, which I need to stop gaslighting myself because I don't think I'm doing any harm, especially if these beliefs just feel so resonated with me and myself, and I can transcend that attachment knowing in my core how energy works. I think, again, some people will go out of their way and explain this to their twin flame for confirmation and reassurance that they're feeling this energy and this intensity too. But if they or you are not showing up how one should, or you keep entering their life after running away again, thinking, let's give this another go, facing it, not trusting the universe, like, if it's meant to be, it will come back to you, then having these beliefs, I feel like, could be doing you more harm. Or let's say having these beliefs and not being in contact with them, and no contact, letting all this pass, all this time pass, and not utilizing it to heal, not utilizing to have these difficult conversations with yourself and seeing where you went wrong and what you need to work on, and staying in this delusional waiting game that's harming yourself. Again, that's just my belief with the twin flame journey. And that's what's been coming up for me is, again, going back and refining the way I view this relationship and transmuting that pain to only feel the love that I just feel on occasions when I'm not being so triggered by my insecurities. Can I still love an individual and not want to be with them? And it's been a hard thing to try and understand and grasp for myself. I don't care what anyone else thinks or feels, but just for my own sanity and my own life, is that possible? Because I've seen so much in society and social media. Like, I saw this video the other day of this guy talking about his ex, and he was like, I'll always have love for her. The moment I lay my eyes on her again, like, all these feelings come back. Like, I love that girl so much. That doesn't mean I want to be with her, though. And all these people in the comments were like, I would never want to date him. He has crazy trauma attachment issues, yada, yada, yada. And then I saw one comment, and it was like, shame on these people. I feel sorry for them because they've clearly never felt that type of love before. Or they're clearly hung up on the grudges and resentment and the pain the relationship caused, that they can't move into forgiveness to still have love for something that was a part of your life. And this is why I'm so big on that, because 8 billion people in the world, and you're telling me our paths cross for a reason, or not for a reason, our paths cross just because? For no reason. Like, I don't believe that. And especially every time I do revisit this relationship, in my mind, let me say, of course, there were times in the last couple of years where I reached out or he reached out, but one of us or both of us wound up both walking away again. And when I sat with myself, with my head and my heart and just myself, and went back through the relationship, as I do with everything, I've pulled so much from it. I've learned so much about myself and the way the world works. And I think that's really the main reason why we have these twin flames relationships, is to help us heal and help us to take a hard look in the mirror at the shit we've been running from and denial from. So ultimately, we can set sail and get the things we want in life and continue moving forward without continuing to drop our anchor. And for the longest time, man, I felt so much shame around the fact that I still have love for every single person in my life, no matter how dirty they may have did me or how dirty I may have did them, right? Because I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I didn't fuck up, because I did many times. There have been I've tried to do right by him so many times, but it just got too hard. But I still want the best for them. I still care deeply. I still hope and pray to God for them every day and their well-being. I want them to find happiness in another partner, in another relationship. Of course, that's going to hurt me to see. I'm human. But ultimately, like, I knew we weren't going to work it out. At least not right now. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm also not going to wait around. I'm not even going to let that thought come into my head, because that's going to hold me back. I'm big on, if it's supposed to be, if it's meant to be, it will be, and the universe will guide it there and show us that. But I think you can't just be walking back into people's lives expecting them to pick you back up like nothing has changed over the years, when everything has changed. I don't think it's my place. So with that being said, I make it all about myself. And I'm sitting here today finally feeling okay, feeling good enough, clearly, if I'm going to put this on a podcast and put this out there knowing that people can disagree with me, that's all right. But I feel good enough in a truth that my heart, there's so much room in it. I mean, I love everything. There's not a day that goes by that I don't fall in love with something. If it's a person, a place, a thing, a good food, a cozy blanket, those are usually my go-to because, I'm a tourist. But God, everything. I'm so emotional with it too. Like, I just feel so much. Even when I feel nothing, I feel it completely. Sylvia Path, she said that. And I think it was important for my growth and my evolution to surrender into looking at this relationship again. Because I'm not going to lie. I mean, you guys heard the tone change in my voice, how I got when speaking about it. That it's difficult. And, like, honestly, I wish I could just run away from it all and, like, not look at it or not deal with it anymore, because I just want it to be done. And I hate the thought that this could still be holding me back from getting what I want, but I think it was, in a way. Because I was dealing with trying to figure out if it's okay for me to still have this love for individuals that are no longer in my life, and, like, I no longer want to be a part of theirs and have this intense feeling. I held myself back from making this podcast episode too, because I was afraid that if a man was pursuing me and was to listen to these episodes, they would think everything that I said before about the social media comments, like, this chick still hung up on her ex. But I'm sorry, not but I just said it again. And deteriorate, and that's not the word, deter them away from pursuing me. But I'm okay with that. They're not meant for me, because I want an individual who has loved deeply, who has loved so deeply before, and who has also had to let go deeply and move on because they knew what was best for them. And I'm okay if that never happens, but I'm not. I deeply desire to be in a partnership, but also I'm 25. I am no rush. I'm not. I also don't want to go through that pain again. That doesn't mean I hold myself back from putting myself out there, because I do, but let me tell you, the universe just keeps saying, nope, that's not it. That's not it. He's not the one. I'm like, damn, universe, can you just send me the one already? But I think, like I said, there's lessons in every relationship that I can gain, and I'm just continuing to grow into more of who I'm supposed to be for the world. Because I have such a purpose here and a mission, and I have a lot of flaws and insecurities I need to work on. I also think, though, those who can't feel that love while also remaining detached hasn't reached that deepening to that certain level of consciousness that where love remains, where I took my ego's need for want and attachment out of it. And that's what I want in a partner, that level of consciousness. And I think, and I believe that's rare, because everyone is either on one side or the other of the extremes. I fucking hate this person, or I need to be with them. We're supposed to be together. So I'm okay with myself and what I've cultivated this far and what I'll continue to cultivate by myself in my life, because when me and my partner do come together, whenever the time is right, we're going to shake this shit up. And not only do I and him need to be fully prepared, which takes time, so does this world. Y'all not going to be ready for the type of love we bring into this place. Another thing that I got from this relationship, when I re-looked at it, when I finally surrendered in the beginning of the week of like, all right, let's just look into it again. I was making myself go insane trying to tie up these loose ends, because I was like, I need to figure out. I hate when my mind is like trying to figure out a thought or just come to a new truth in there, so I can like just come back to my baseline of like normalcy. That's not a word, but you guys know what I mean. Because my entire life then just revolves around trying to sort this shit out in my head. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting, but okay, so listen. This connection, the energy, came back into my energy field. Again, it wasn't anything physical. Did not see the kid, talk to the kid. Have not spoken to him in years, honestly. It was all just energetically through my dreams, through these feelings I was feeling, through songs that were just coming on my shuffle. And I was like, damn. And then I started to get really frustrated myself, because I recognized, oh my God, hold on, that I had started a new, I need some chapstick. I should have did this before when I paused it. So I mentioned last episode that I was starting a new daily routine, a new structure for myself, because I work best when I have structure. And I'm like 3 days in, and then everything's going well. I had actually a really great week, except for this, where I was starting to get really low and disappointed, because I was like, damn, my manifestations and the shit I want is not happening. And then I go in my head and I'm like, what flaws can I pick at to figure out why this is holding me back again? It's like I planted the seeds, but I keep digging them up and I keep replanting them, and I keep digging them up and I keep replanting them. And I can mentally conceptualize. I know in my head I should not be doing that. So why can't I embody this? Why can't I embody this feeling of worthiness? Because I said in my last podcast episode that having or achieving these things don't make you worthy or fulfilled. You should be worthy and fulfilled now. And I can understand that, but why am I not having the emotional embodiment reaction to this, for where I can then stay in that vibration long enough or quickly come back into that. So then these things that are of equal vibration, these manifestations I want that would make me quote unquote feel worthy, come into my physical reality. I know, I told you this was going to be a loaded podcast and we're about to go everywhere. So hang on. This is all going to tie together in a second. So I was having this thought and I was sitting meditating and I had a download drop in and they said to me, Mia, the only thing that's wrong with you is thinking that something's wrong with you. And I was like, oh my God, sure, that makes sense. Because I continue trying to comb through my life and pick apart the flaws of everything I'm not doing right instead of just being. Easier said than done, but that's the truth. And for days I was trying to figure this out. I'm like, all right, so like why, what are we doing? But something clearly is wrong. Obviously, like I just said, the only thing wrong with me is thinking that something's wrong with me, but there is like another wall there that I have to climb over to get to that other side. I'm a very logical person. I need to understand it in my mind, and then I'll have like an experience with it emotionally after. So whatever. Hours pass, days pass. Throughout that time, I'm scrolling on Facebook and I'm subscribed on Facebook to Soft White Underbelly. You guys ever seen those videos? This guy interviews drug addicts on Skid Row, people with just crazy life stories, man. Most of them I was seeing were drug addicts. And I was just like, oh my God. I feel so much for these people. And I was thinking, I'm like, are they a lost cause? Some people are just so strung out that you really question, like, is there any way they can come back from that? Their capacity to self-confirm, to give themselves love has been broken since the start, where they always destined to be broken. And you know what's crazy too? During this week, I had a song that I was absolutely obsessed with. Like the melody, the rhythm, the beat of it all just like completely encapsulated me. It's it's called Jenny by Nothing More. It's like a heavy metal band, not heavy metal. They're more like alternative rock, but anyway, so that song, I've just been bumping it all week, and so I had to look it up on Genius. I'm like, what does this song mean? Because I don't really know. You could interpret it, but you really can't. And the song is actually about the lead singer's sister who has schizophrenia, but his mother named her after her aunt, who was also schizophrenic. And he said in an interview that she was destined for damnation since then. And reading that just made me not feel good. Like, I don't want to believe that. I don't believe that. And I was thinking this thought, and when I was thinking it, I was just having an emotional push-pull tension to it, because, like, I don't want to believe that. I really don't. Some people out there, you guys might believe that they're a lost cause, but for me, that, like, oh my God, it makes my heart ache to think that someone doesn't have the ability to end their suffering. Because I don't think we're put here to suffer. But the energy I was sending them felt like, what's the word I'm looking for? It felt hopeless. And I was like, I need to turn this energy around. I don't want to send that. I want to send excitement and faith and compassion and grace and understanding and empathy towards these people that I'm watching, and just, I'm in awe. Like, I just binged a lot of their videos recently. And like every time I'm like, oh my God. And that's something I really enjoy about life. And why too, I'm in no rush to find the one, because I also understand that every single individual, even if it's an almost maybe or just a situationship for the time being, it's a new experience. And I collect these people and their stories under my belt to help me understand the world better and to help others. And I think that's just so beautiful. So they were coming up, and it made me think of this connection with my quote unquote twin flame and how I'm like extreme with the energy I sent him. It's either so much love or hate, or it's worry, because I'm constantly worried about him. Because I know what I've experienced in this life and the hardships I faced and the suffering I felt, and I know he feels that too. He has his own experiences that he's going through, and it breaks my heart to know that he's hurting. But for some reason, I never had the belief that he's strong enough to overcome that. And I know it's kind of fucked up, but it's true. But as much as I never had the belief, honestly, he's proven time and time again that he is resilient. Because I see him on social media, or on the occasions we do cross paths, and like, you know, he could still be struggling in his mind and all that, but he's still moving forward in life. He's keeping up with society. And I thought, I can't continue to send him this worrying energy that's like invasive almost. And I don't think it's fair and right. Like, I don't want someone to send that energy to me. Like, they're only worried about me. Like, I wish somebody would, like, if they're going to send me energy, it's going to be like, nah, she got this, you know? And that goes with everybody in life. So it was interesting to see how these people on soft white underbelly, these drug addicts, made me come into this realization that, like, I need to stop being so sloppy with my energy. And on the rare occasions, because it's not often, I don't let myself honestly think about this individual as much. But when it does come into my energy, immediately it's worry. I'm like, he's only pulling on my energy right now because he's suffering. And maybe he is. I have no fucking idea. Again, like, he could probably think I'm absolutely delusional if he ever listens to this. Like, sorry, I guess you really didn't know what you signed up for when you met me, but this is just the way I think. And with anybody in life, not just him, like, I want to send out hope, because it goes back to what you think. Your thoughts create your reality. And Eckhart Tolle said that in his book too. Like, he had an example about, you know what, hold on, let me pause it, because the book is right here. Let me get it. Okay, I didn't realize I read as far as I did in that book, and there's a lot of highlighted information, some so relevant in this case. We'll see if I ever get around back to it to like add a little blurb here and there in this episode. But I just asked ChatGPT what Eckhart Tolle said about giving to people who are asking for money. And he suggests that when someone asks for money, it's not just about the physical act of giving. Oh my God, I can't catch a break with this thing. It goes off every 10 fucking minutes. Hold on. Ugh, rude. All right, anyway. He suggests that when someone asks for money, it's not just about the physical act of giving or not giving, but about the energy and consciousness behind the action. Toll encourages people to be aware of their inner state before they respond. He advises that if you decide to give, do so from a place of compassion, love, and presence rather than from a sense of guilt, obligation, or superiority. The energy you transmit while giving is as important as the gift itself. If you feel resentment or judgment, it's better not to give, because the negative energy you project can be harmful. In summary, Toll suggests that the key is not whether you give or don't give money, but the quality of consciousness you bring to the interaction. Whether you choose to give or not, doing so with awareness, compassion, and presence ensures that the energy you send out is positive and beneficial. Whoosh, mind blown. Eckhart Tolle also says that, we don't have the power to change or manifest stuff in another person's life. Only they have control over their own life. But the energy we send out in the world not only affects us, it affects the collective consciousness. And I think coming into the realization of that will allow me to believe that even though he and we couldn't figure it out while we were together, doesn't mean that he's not grasping it or doing it. I mean, I did. Therefore, I think it will make it easier to continue to transmute the pain that I am feeling. And I feel guilty, I have to admit, because I was not sending this kid that type of energy because oh man, because of so much, but honestly, I'm human and this should hurt. I'm such a natural giver and I'm recovering people pleaser, like I mentioned on the last episode, and I'll probably say time and time again on these episodes, but that's another thing that this relationship taught me is that my threshold for love is low. Because when I'm giving, I'm not giving to receive anything. I'm doing this because I just wanted to love. I just want to love. I was only falling in love. So when I did receive something back, breadcrumbs, as it felt like the entire buffet. But eventually, the more my feelings became invalidated, the more I wasn't a priority, the more the words and actions he did started to hurt. And, being a people pleaser, the love threshold is low, but the neglect threshold is high. So I have a high pain tolerance. I will accept shit day in and day out until I just can't anymore. And I always thought my heart was the problem. I always thought that loving and the ability to love someone in the ways I did was the issue, when honestly, that's a goddamn superpower. And my heart, she was never the problem. The problem was, at times one being naive, but also my lack of boundaries and the lack of know-how to implement these boundaries. They don't teach this shit in fucking school. Out of nowhere, you're telling me I have to stop giving love to an individual because I'm not getting any in return? And it's actually doing me more harm than I thought good. And I guess I want to say not stop giving love. Oh, excuse me. Voice crack. Not stop giving love, but to stop being involved physically with the person, because being connected so closely in life, constantly with them, will drain you and hurt you more. It was too much. I also keep thinking about, like, setting out with such these big dreams and goals, wanting to change the world, or, having these nice things. Like, I'm materialistic, I'll admit it. I don't mind. I have what's the word? I'm a big picture thinker, and I think life should be as grand as we can make it. And I like visually pleasing things, and I like luxury, and I don't feel any shame around that. But how can I want these things and ever feel worthy of it when I'm settling for the treatment I was getting in these relationships? And honestly, if I'm being real, I mean, why not? I've only been real thus far, an hour into this. You know what the treatment really was? Lack of consideration. Yeah, you can argue you don't owe people shit and you're not responsible for their emotions. I thought that too at one point, but that's not true. Especially if you say you care and love another individual, you should be taking into consideration their thoughts and their feelings, and mine were never. I showed up with all this love and I was tested. He didn't believe it. He only thought the only person that can love him as much was his mother. The only person that can love that much and not abandon him. And I know for a fact that's what I mirror back to him because I ran away. I threw in the white flag, and I feel so guilty about that too, which was brought up recently this week, that at times I feel like a failure because I feel like I gave up on him. Not even us, just gave up on him. You know, my other twin flames that I was connected with, they also really reflected my lack of boundaries because I just showed up and all I wanted to do was love them. And they did not believe they were worthy of what I was offering. Not at all. And they ran. You know, I think it was the idea that someone can love them as much as I showed up and was doing, even with all their flaws, just triggered their sense of unworthiness too, and their wounds of abandonment. They slammed the door in my face. They were being them, and I knew since day one, whatever I do would never be enough. Because that's just who they are. They would say I cannot love anyone more than I love myself, and I laughed and thought to myself, oh, he'll love me. I'll give him the love he deserves, the love the world failed to do so. But I forgot your ugly face and kept painting it with my selfless love. They warned me. They warned me a lot. They told me to go away, shut the door in my face, held my hand and dragged me out and told me you don't need me, but I still stayed. They showed me I'm not enough. And I thought, I'll change you and make you love me. It wasn't you who let me down, it was me, because you were being you. The dark you, the ugly you. People often tell us who they are, especially when they're mad, laughing, or simply when they're too vulnerable. They show us who they really are. And we, and me, who are so blinded by love, would do anything for them. Just love them and think it's their hurt, lack of love that made them this person because that's what they're taught. That's what I knew. That love is the cure for everything. But time and time again, when I walked away from these relationships, I never felt more unworthy in my life. Never felt good enough. And even to this day, I still don't. And I can mentally understand that I should be worthy. I should be feeling worthy now. I mean, look what I did. Look what I've done for myself. Look what I've overcome. I pulled myself on the darkness more times than I can count, but I still don't feel worthy. So let me just collect my thoughts real quick with these twin flames relationships, but more speaking to this one right now because it's been in my energy field. Unconditional love. My lack of boundaries. Having to be more organized with the energy I send out. But most importantly, this week, and this will probably be my last thought of it all, I went back and I looked into why I feel so unworthy still, because I knew these connections, this one specifically too, just mirrored that back at me. You know, in relationships, in this one particularly, I gave without limits and I accepted very little in return. It's almost like conditioned thinking. Over time, I feel like I probably internalized the belief that love is about giving everything and receiving little, which to me makes sense and mirrors my struggle with self-worth. That I think if the opposite were to happen, if I was conditioned to see myself as valuable when I gave, then maybe I wouldn't struggle to feel worthy when I wasn't receiving love and validation. There's also the good old cognitive dissonance and emotional attachment that I knew intellectually that the relationship was unhealthy, but emotionally, I still feel this love. And this creates that cognitive dissonance. When you understand your worth, but you don't feel it. My love for this person, despite the treatment of myself, reflects the tension between knowing something is bad for myself, but still feeling this love emotionally. And I'm not going to say I'm high and mighty and have transcended all my attachment issues, but I definitely feel non-attached to the outcome of needing to be with this individual anymore. I don't. But the love just doesn't go away. I mean, sometimes it's replaced with grief, but it's still there. And I feel like even though leaving was the healthy choice, the right thing to do, that's why I still sometimes feel like it's a failure. And having a high tolerance for neglect. Man, it's like, it's parallel to the struggle of feeling worthy. I feel like being conditioned, right? Because like these toxic relationships are drugs. And they reinforce these habits and these patterns in our mind. And that's why it's so hard for some people to leave them, because it's been so reinforced. It's like quitting cold turkey. But being conditioned to just accept neglect or not being considered or breadcrumbs as enough but is making it hard to fully embody that sense of worthiness. So despite understanding it intellectually, I still am finding it difficult to feel it at an emotional level. But the truth is, and was when I look back at this connection, is that I was already broken. Even before meeting him, that my childhood, and it's crazy because like I don't remember having such a traumatic childhood. I remember being held back in certain ways, or light dimmed, or belief not spoken into me in the ways that like, oh Mia, you can be whatever you want. I didn't have any of that, but it wasn't like abusive. And I had love from my parents. They did an amazing job raising me, I think. But the truth was, like, when I showed up and I attracted this person into my life, vibe attracts vibe, and I was already broken. And one of the songs I was having a channeling with this week was 3 Days Grace, Lost in You. And one of their verses said, "You always thought I left myself open, but you didn't know I was already broken." Which it just fucking hit home, really. Then I thought about the empathy I have towards these drug addicts on soft white underbelly, and the empathy I have for this guy, or just people in general. You know, learning boundaries as an empath is one of the hardest things I ever have to do. And I feel like some days I have it down pat, and then other days I am like a sponge soaking up everyone's pain. But this empathy I know is a strength. However, when I turn it inward, it manifests as self-blame or just an excessive focus on other people's pain. It's beautiful, I think, really, to care deeply for others, but I got to figure out a better balance or harmony with self compassion and recognize that I can't always save others, especially at my own expense. I've thrown my body under the bus for these people, this guy, so many times. Well, eventually I've learned enough is enough, but even now, moving forward and having this empathy, when I watch those videos, it stirred up emotions, but I learned to stop myself from diving deep really into it. Oh my God, that just scared the shit out of me. Man, holy fuck. I don't know if you guys just heard that, but the speaker just turned off because I disconnected my Bluetooth and it said power off, but that scared me. That's a sign. Whenever I'm down here, there's so much shit that goes down in this house, man. I mean, like, spiritually speaking, like, other realm speaking. My grandmother passed away in 2012, 11. I can't even remember. It's been a long time. I want to say 11. And she's sitting right over there, perked up with a nice picture, all pretty, and her ashes are right behind it. But she's sitting also right next to me. But her presence is everywhere in this house. But so that just felt like, for me, that power off, even though that scared the shit out of me hearing, it felt like a sign to believe more deeply into what I was like just about to speak on, to the fact, because sometimes I'm like, oh, is this really true for myself or am I just talking out of my ass? No, I feel definitely really good about the fact that I cut myself off from allowing myself to deepen or go deep into other people sometimes, because I know it will just wreak havoc on my emotional state. And empathy without boundaries is just self-destruction. I mean, I don't have to tell you. Holy crap. But I think it's an important lesson that I learned from this connection that I will take moving forward in all my relationships. Because if I could think that I can love this person so much and say I don't want to be with them or connect anymore physically because it just time and time again it hasn't worked out, there has to be another person out there for me. I know there is. And when I meet that individual, I'm going to be so in love with them. I just know already. But I'm going to need to know boundaries. Because now I know how much I'm willing to lay out for another individual, especially a person I'm romantically in love with. I lose myself sometimes. Not anymore. I haven't really allowed myself to get that far in certain relationships because I'm automatically like, no, I saw some red flags. I'm just going to cut it here. Or the universe is like, we're going to pull this person out of your life because this ain't it. Because I feel like the universe knows, like, I know too, that sometimes I'm just so infatuated by somebody that I'm just ready to give. No questions asked. I will throw myself to the side. It's all about another individual. Super unhealthy, I know. But we're working at it, man. I'm just trying to figure this shit out. So I think sitting here now after recording this entire podcast, I know it's a lot longer than usual, and looking through this old connection, but one of the most intense and one of the ones that I have pulled so much from because of it, because of the mirror he offered me. I'm thinking that moving forward, I need to stop thinking that the departure from the relationship is a failure, and not that it comes up often, but when it does, to know that it is actually finally complete. And walking away is a sign of self-worth and strength, and it's okay to love someone and also recognize that the relationship isn't healthy. I'm gonna keep up trying to continue to set boundaries because my empathy is a gift, but it's so important to set boundaries. I'm going to continue to embrace the complexity of love. You know, it's okay to still love someone who hurt you. Feelings aren't always logical as much as I wish they were. But I can also love myself enough to prioritize my well being and recognize that sometimes love means letting go. You know, a tweet was tweeting on Twitter. It's not Twitter anymore, it's X. Whatever. It will always be Twitter to me. A couple months ago, I know you guys saw it because it blew up. It was on everywhere, Facebook, Instagram. I saw it like a million times after I saw it already on X. And it was like, why must the final act of love being letting go? It's because this relationship was teaching you that all along. The relationship was teaching you that all along. It was teaching you that self-love. I also want to start like recognizing my growth more. I think I sell myself short, especially on the podcast. I mean, I'm not going to come on here and just absolutely hype myself up for an hour, but I always try to just remain like real. I think I went through a stage where I was a little pretentious because my ego was hurt and she was just trying to make up a narrative to say everything was okay, but that's not who I want to be. I am as human as it gets, as much as I think I am from Venus and have lived millions of lives. I don't always have it together, but when I do figure it out, or like when I walk away, when the relationship becomes too toxic or it just hurts too much, that acknowledging I do have limits and I can value myself, that is a sign of growth, even if it always doesn't feel like it. It's like, instead of being so, not instead of, I will always be empathetic. It's something I actually legitimately cannot control, but to extend that empathy towards myself. I deserve the same care and compassion that I wish for others. All right, I think I yapped for a substantial amount of time. Clearly, I went down the rabbit hole, which is one last thing I want to leave you guys with. With Mercury retrograde, you will find yourself going down the rabbit holes, but please don't lose yourself. I think if there's one thing I want to be proud of myself throughout this entire thing is that even though at times it didn't feel like it, I kept in mind my own well being. That I'm doing this for myself. That it literally, other than the energy people offer me, it was never about them. Of course, I really believe this too. I would not be who I am today without these relationships or these connections, or especially this one. But there was something inside of me or someone up above who just kept rooting for me to grow and see my value and see my worth, and so I can set sail. I can go be of service to this world because that's what I want. This is what fulfills me the most in life, honestly. You know, when I was younger, I forgot who said this quote, but it goes, when I was younger, I wanted to change the world. I wanted to do something to change the world. But now that I'm older and wiser, I want to do something that changes myself. And I agree with that. As much as it does fulfill me to put this stuff out here, I wouldn't be doing it or have the opportunity to do it if I was never on this path seeking understanding of myself and to become more whole and to look in the mirror. Oh my God, if you listen this far, I love you guys so much. I do. And you guys mean the world to me. your support and your love and the energy you send me. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. And if you like this, if this feels resonant with you, or you thought about somebody when you're listening, send it over or share it. That'd be amazing. It helps my dreams come true. And it means more than you will ever know. If you need anything from me, or you want to follow my socials, you want to check out my website, check out all that information in the description box below. And I'll catch you on the next wave. Bye.